Good morning, Waste Warriors. I had a query from Kate, which I thought warranted a blog post and a little video, because this time of year, the end of summer, it might be something that's affecting you too. I'm going to read out her query, so forgive me for looking down. She says, have you got any tips on storing fresh herbs? I'm often left with half a packet of coriander or basil that just goes limp in the fridge. We also have a glut of fresh herbs in the garden every summer, and I'd love to know the best way to keep them. So I'm going to start with the supermarket herbs. We all know you buy the little packets after you've been inspired by a recipe book or a cooking show on TV, and invariably, like Kate says, you use what you need for the recipe and the rest of it just goes limp before you can get to it. I think the key with this is knowing how to store the herbs to prolong the life as long as possible. What I find works for me is to pretend that the herbs you've bought are cut flowers. So what do you do with cut flowers? Well, you'd get a jar of water, pop the stems in there, and I know you don't put flowers in the fridge, but with the fresh herbs, if you put them in the fridge in the jar, then I reckon you'll get a couple of weeks life out of those herbs, which is much longer than, the 2 or 3 days that you might get by just putting the pack into the fridge. The other thing you can do is take what you need for your recipe and then freeze the rest. And the best way I found to freeze herbs is to just snip them into tiny pieces, put them into an ice cube tray in portions, so maybe, a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons in an ice cube tray, top that up with water and then put it in the freezer. And then the next time you want to make a soup or a stew or curry or whatever, something with a lot of liquid in that you want to add the herbs to, just put one of those ice cubes in right at the end of cooking, enough to thaw out the water, but not to overcook the herb. That's the best way I found to deal with the little supermarket packets. If when you're looking for a particular herb for a dish, you can buy the actual growing pot in the supermarket, sometimes they sell them in the pots that you can then keep that herb going. That may be a way to prolong the life even longer. Sometimes I have found, a bit cynical, bit conspiracy theorist, that when you get them home, they seem to kind of not want to live. I think they've been grown in very specific conditions, but I have had success with some herbs that have just gone on and on and on. So at least by buying them from a supermarket, I have been able to keep them going for, a year or two and get more for my money. So moving on to the glut in the garden, well, I think there are 3 ways to preserve the life of herbs that you grow at home. My favourite one is with the old-fashioned method of dehydrating, and what works for me is to cut about 6 long stems of something, so say 6 long stems of mint, tie it together with string, and then suspend that from what I do in our house is just do it from the dining room ceiling, because that's the room that gets probably the warmest. What you can do, and it's a better idea, is to when you tie the herbs together to have them hanging sort of within a paper bag, because then all the leaves and bits as they dry and drop get caught. I actually don't mind having them scattered all over the floor. We've got floorboards, and I'm a sort of take me as you find me kind of girl, not that house proud, so I don't mind having herbs on the floor. They smell lovely. So once they're dry, and depends on the herbs, it depends on the airflow, it depends on the temperature as to how long that takes. It can be a few days, or it might be 2 or 3 weeks, even a little bit longer for something really fleshy. When they're dry, just crumble them, and what I find again with something like mint is if you just run your hand along the stem, it just, when it's ready, the leaves will just come away easily and they'll crumble. Small amounts you can use in cooking. If you've got large amounts, then you're making your own herbal teas, aren't you? So that's another way that you'll be able to reduce waste and save money, is by making your own herbal teas. Get one of those they're like a little metal ball made of mesh, and you put your herbs inside there, dunk it in a cup, pour boiling water over it, leave it for a while, and you've got your own herbal teas. I make mine with lemon balm, mint. What else do we use? I use the cooking herbs I use would be sort of marjoram or oregano, we grow loads of stuff, chives, all of those things. I don't dry chives, so there's other things you can do with those, which I'll come on to. So like the ice cube method, if you've got a big glut at home, you can obviously do that one. The one that I love to do with chives and mint is to make herb butter. Because who doesn't love some boiled potatoes with a load of mint butter over them, or, you know, some French stick that you put garlic butter into, and putting chives in that is a really nice thing to do. What I love most about that is in the middle of kind of December or January, when the days are long and great and you're longing for a bit of summer, if you get some of that mint butter out of the fridge, out of the freezer, and put it on your cooking, it just transports you, and you just think, it's okay, spring's coming, I can get through these last couple of months of winter. So for that, just chop finely the herbs that you've chosen. For me, as I say, it's mint and herbs. Get some softened butter, mix everything together, and then it will keep in the fridge for about a week. What I tend to do is just break it off into small pieces, about between a teaspoon and a tablespoon, and freeze that. Again, you can do that in an ice cube tray. And I just wanted to share, because Kate particularly mentioned basil. I know everyone will be going, oh, we know that, but it just lends itself to pesto, doesn't it? So I would batch bake, you don't bake pesto, batch prepare some pesto, and then you can freeze it. Gosh, the freezer is your friend when it comes to reducing food waste. I can't tell you, I'm still learning to this day about things that can be frozen that I never knew about. So that's one way. Just make a load of pesto, and then you'll be saving your money on pesto throughout the rest of the year. The other thing I do with basil is a dish that I learned sort of accidentally, and it's just the most amazing taste. I can't begin to tell you. My daughter asks for it all the time. So you get one of the, the roasted red peppers. You can roast that yourself under the grill until it goes black. Take the skin off. So you've got that lovely sweet red pepper. I put that in the blender with half a pack of salty feta cheese. So that gives the sweet and the salty, and then as much basil as you like the taste of. Just put it in the blitzer, blend it out, and you've got this beautiful orangey red, just gorgeous sauce that is beautiful on pasta, or I just serve it on the side with jacket potatoes. It goes into rice. It can be used as a base for anything. It makes the most decadent, amazing soup. You're going to love it. Try that, because you will never have basil waste ever again if you get into that one. So I hope this has been helpful. Oh, I must share something that Jess on our Facebook group suggested. I love this idea. She says she gets a sprig of mint, she puts it inside the vacuum bag. Every time she vacuums the house, she gets this beautiful waft of mint throughout. I thought that was brilliant. That's your own version of a shaken vac, isn't it? Right there. And it's air fresheners without all the horrible toxic chemicals and without the plastic insert that goes into the wall. So there we go. I hope you found something that is helpful to you. I'd love to know what works for you. Please leave a comment below, and let's learn from one another. And I hope that you're getting excited about Zero Waste Week, only a few days away. Begins on the 5th of September. Sign up if you're not on the mailing list. You'll get daily emails throughout the week. We're focusing on food waste this week, because the average household is throwing away far too much food, about £60 worth of money every month. Don't know about you, but I'd rather spend that money on something else. So sign up. Can't wait to have you on board. Thanks for the great question, Kate. And thank you all for sharing your ideas over on Facebook. Look forward to speaking to you soon.